Hi everybody, welcome to the Hamakua Homestead. My name is Tiffany, and here on this channel we're taking you along for all of our adventures here on the ranch. As I was finishing up today's video that I wanted to get posted, I realized that somehow I had deleted the introduction to it. So here's your new introduction. This was my first time canning beans. I was really excited because I wanted to have beans readily available on the shelf for quick meals or quick lunches, so my son or my sweetheart can go ahead and just grab a jar and ready to go. So I ended up canning 2 packages of pinto beans and 2 packages of kidney beans. My sweetheart has already had a couple of jars over the last week or 2, and he says that they are absolutely delicious, ready to go, lunchtime, bam bam. When I was trying to figure out which method I wanted to use to can beans, I was weighing my options because I'd seen several different videos and different recipes online and also in books about the different methods. The safest option is to pre-soak your beans, soak them at least overnight before you can them. Another method that is not approved, it is rebel canning, is dry beans. So you just pour dry beans directly into the jar and then fill it with water and can it. Like I said, that way is not approved, but I was weighing my options and what I wanted to do, being that it's my first time. So I ended up landing somewhere right in the middle, and that was the quick soak method. So I ended up boiling my beans for 2 minutes and then turning off the heat and leaving them to set in their hot water for an hour. And that allowed them to soak up a lot of the moisture. So, having said that, here we go, let's can some beans. Here we are ready to start our beans. I went ahead and rinsed and sorted out our beans already, and I have 2 pots going. I couldn't really find a surefire measurement on how many pints or quarts that I would be expecting out of how much dried beans, and I'm really hoping I didn't go overboard. I have a tendency to do that. I have kidney beans and pinto beans, and I'm going to go ahead and do them in the same pressure canner, but I'm going to process them separately, of course. But I don't know how many we're going to come up with. I would like to do this recipe in pints so that it is easy for my son or for my sweetheart to just go ahead and grab a jar off of the shelf at any time and it's just ready to go, and they don't have to worry about leftovers. I'm going to go ahead and let both of these come to a boil for a full 2 minutes, and then we will go on to the next step. Pinto beans boiled for a full 2 minutes, and then I turned off the heat, and they've been sitting in their hot water for 1 hour. Now I need to go ahead and get these strained out, and then it'll be ready to put in our jars. I don't know how many pints we're going to end up with, so we'll just start scooping and find out. Looking for 1-inch headspace. deciding to go ahead and go below a 1-inch headspace because I believe that these will expand a little bit more and I want to give them the opportunity to soak up the water. These are very loosely packed, so there's going to be a lot of water that ends up inside of here. This 2 packages of beans ended up giving me 7 pints, which is awesome. And I have another 2 packages of the kidney beans that are almost ready to drain out now. So I'll end up with 14 pints total. We have our pinto beans jarred up, and now the kidney beans have been soaking for an entire hour. So now it's time to strain these ones out too. All right, fun fact of the day, we have our jars all filled up with our beans. With the pinto beans, I ended up with 7 jars. They're not all the way full, as you can see. And I ended up with 9 jars of the kidney beans. Go figure. And now it is time to get the canner ready. I need to go ahead and bust out the big boy because this would take 2 batches in the Presto. So I'm gonna take out the All-American, which can hold a lot more. We've got our pressure canner full of 3 inches of water. It's getting started. It just was cool water. And because my beans are already cooled down quite a bit, I'm gonna go ahead and do this with room temperature water. I did see while I was researching that hot packing is also a good idea, to where you would have hot beans, fill it with hot water into a hot canner. So you don't have any risk of thermal shock, so the jars will break. So we're just gonna go ahead and start room temperature at this point and see where that gets us. Fill it up to 1-inch headspace, but we need to debubble because I'm sure in between all these beans, there's probably a bunch of air bubbles. That should be good. On to the next. Next up, I'm going to put in half a tablespoon of salt into each jar. And that's not accurate. Next up, I'm going to put a half of a teaspoon of salt into each jar. Next step, I am going to go ahead and wipe down the rims with a paper towel with some white vinegar just to make sure that there's nothing left, any residue from the beans or even any morsels of salt on top of there. I want to make sure they're totally clean so we don't have any mishaps. Not tightening my lids on too tight. The way you want to have it is just about like that, because you want to leave room for the air to be able to escape during the canning process. Don't crank them down and don't leave them really loose. Into the canner we go. We have our canner all loaded up with our beans, and I'm going to go ahead and let this heat up. I will bring you guys back when our vent pipe starts steaming. I'm going to let it steam a steady stream for 10 solid minutes before I put on my weight. Our beans have been cooking for 75 minutes, and now I just turned off the heat and we're going to let it come down, and I'll bring you back when it's time to finally open. It has been quite a while. Our canner does take quite a bit of time because it's so big, but now it has come down for pressure, and we're going to go ahead and open our jars of beans and see how they did. As far as I can tell, each of these 16 jars have sealed properly. They all look really good. They all still have a boil inside of each jar. I don't think with the lighting I can show you very well, but each one of them is boiling, and I'm very excited. One of the things I will let you know, since we're doing this together, this is the first time I've done beans like this, they did expand more. With the quick soak method, definitely it expanded more. I started off, I don't know if you can see, I started off about here, and it was just water above that. It is jam-packed with beans now. So that is one thing to note when we are making beans. As it is now, all of our jars look good. I think that they have all sealed. They're all bubbling like they should be, and it's wonderful.